Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tolkien Road. John here. Greta, how are
Hey,
you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Doing pretty well.
Right on. Good.
This is episode 224.
Yes. 224. First episode of the new year.
That's right. Lord
Yeah.
of the Rings and Religion in 2021. Lord of the Rings and Religion. Good grief. I forgot to adapt my notes here in one particular place. This is Tolkien and Middle-earth in 2021. Deliberately not very focused on religion because, we've been doing that quite a bit. So,
We have, yeah.
we wanted to, do a little bit of a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
Not that we won't ever come back to that topic because it's a very interesting one, but we've done a lot of that lately. And so, we're going to talk about 2021, the plans for this podcast, but also all the, the big things that are big deals going on in our minds in 2021 for Tolkien and Middle-earth in general.
Perfect.
So
yeah, I think that sounds like a really good plan.
I think it's shaping up to be maybe the most exciting year for Tolkien fans since the Peter Jackson movies, maybe even since Lord of the Rings was, the books were released themselves. I don't know.
Wow.
So we'll see. We'll get into that in just a few minutes.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the plan. We're going to look at that stuff. I want to give a special shout out to our patrons. Special thanks to our executive producers, Caitlin of Tea with Tolkien, Lise Yu, and Andrew T.
Yes, thanks, guys.
And a shout out to all of our patrons. We're going to start doing something as a loyalty perk for our patrons on the 1 year anniversary. So like the month of their anniversary, we're going to give them a shout out at the end of the episodes for that month. That's going to include people who, just anybody who's been a patron for basically a year or more.
Okay.
Right. So,
yeah.
but because we've never done that before and we've had some people who've been patrons for a long time, I just wanted to start off 2021 by giving a shout out to the people who have been with us for more than a year, just all of them, right? And there are quite a few, and we're just very grateful to these people for sticking with us for so long, and for all that they've contributed to us over the past several years as we've been doing this podcast ever since we launched our Patreon. So here we go. So starting with Shannon S.
Oh, were we going to go back and forth?
Oh, we can. Well, I did. It sounded like you were about to say something.
I was going to say the next name.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, just remember first name and last initial.
Right.
So,
Right. Okay. Sorry, you want to start over?
Shannon S.
Brian O.
Margaret L.
Emilio P.
Zeke F.
T with Tolkien.
James L.
Chris L.
Chuck F.
Eric B.
Sarah M.
David B.
Azia V.
C. Cat L.
Ish of the Hammer.
John R.
Daniel D.
Bethany E.
Andrew T.
Tylen M.
Teresa C.
David B.
And that's David of Pints with Jack.
Oh, yes, of Pints with Jack, yes.
Caitlin H.
Austin B.
Robert S.
Susan C.
James.
Katie W.
Tyler W.
Magnus V.
All right. Yeah. So thank you all so much. Thank you all so much for your patronage and for your loyalty and just continuing to support us month in, month out. And, we really appreciate you.
We really do.
So,
really do. Yeah. Thank you.
If you would like to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/TolkienRoad. So head on over there. We're doing this video will be posted for our patrons only on our Patreon. So this episode will be posted. The video of this episode will be posted for our Patreons only, just like episode 223 was. So that's a new perk that we're doing for our patrons, is posting the getting it buzzing here. Darn it! I think it's my iPhone set up. There we go.
Okay.
But anyway, we're doing this as a new perk for our patrons so that they can have access to the video of the episodes. So we'll see how long that lasts. It's kind of an experimental thing for now, but nevertheless, this episode is definitely there. So if you're the type of person who likes to see, the people whose voices you're listening to, that's how you do it. So, yeah.
Good to know. Thanks, John.
Good to know. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm feeling kind of out of sorts on this.
I am too.
Getting that buzzing.
Actually.
There's a gremlin in the audio system. Let's see if I turn that down for now. All right, I'm gonna turn that down for now. We're gonna come back to the iPhone here. All right, so other ways you can support us. Tip jar is always, that's a way you can just leave a one-time tip if you're so inclined. You can't become a regular patron. You can leave us a tip. You just go to the episode you just go to the page for a particular episode, and there should be a blue leave a tip button on that episode. So
Yeah.
Shouldn't be too hard to find on the website, tolkienroad.com. And then subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes and other podcasting platforms. Please leave us a 5-star rating and say some nice things about us. Leaving 5 stars and a review helps get the word out about us. So please, if nothing else, head on over and leave us 5 stars and tell the world what you love about the Tolkien Road. Then if you say awesome, nice things about us, then we are going to read your reviews on the air. So just like a couple of new ones here, a couple of new 5-star reviews. Tolkien with Fresh Eyes. That's the title of that one. I love it.
Yeah, that is good.
All right, here's that review. As a lifelong Tolkien fan who has just recently begun rereading The Lord of the Rings, I have appreciated walking through each chapter in greater detail with the hosts. I have also enjoyed hearing their ideas and insights into Tolkien's life and beliefs. Thank you for this podcast. Well, thank you for your review.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that's really good.
Yes, and then there's another one here recently. Hey guys, 5 stars. Hey you. All right. New to the show, loving it so far. You have a great chemistry. Proud because you guys are husband and wife. LOL, cheers from Cape Cod, Mass. Steve.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, you. Steve. Also, a little correction. You're supposed to say lol.
Lol.
It's not LOL. I've made that mistake before, and our children have quickly corrected me. Like, oh, Mom,
I'm old school.
You're just not supposed to say LOL. You're supposed to say lol.
Well, what if you're actually in a lull? L-U-L-L.
Well, maybe I'm saying it wrong. Maybe it's lol.
Lol.
Lol. Lol.
I'll say what I want to say.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, I prefer LOL too, but apparently that's like 2020.
Now, if somebody put
something.
LOLZ, then I would say lols.
Lols. Is that a thing?
Yeah, that's like when multiple LOLs.
Oh, so it's use a Z, not an
yeah.
S?
Because it's cooler to use Z.
That's true.
Than S.
Z is cooler instead of S. Okay, fair enough. All right,
Totes.
yeah, those are really nice reviews, though.
Those are really nice reviews. Thanks.
Glad you guys found us.
I am too. And hey, keep in touch.
Yes,
Drop
please
us a line
do.
sometime. Tell us how your journey's going on with the Tolkien Road. All right. Well, a couple of news items. So I got a little fun one today. I did want to give a reminder that we've got our poll over on Patreon for what kind of major work we cover next. We're thinking about either doing a reread of Lord of the Rings or the Silmarillion, or maybe tackling like Children of Húrin, or some part of History of Middle-earth, or Beren and Luthien, the full book length. So if you've got an opinion there, head on over and vote. It's pretty tight between the different choices right now.
It's not really a front runner.
There doesn't, not last time I checked, but.
Okay.
I mean, there's probably a front runner or two, but it's pretty close, right? 1 or 2 votes could maybe tip the balance there. So if you've got a strong opinion, head on over to tolkienroad.com/poll21, POLL21, and that will take you to the poll on Patreon. So
cool. Am I allowed to vote? Can I vote?
Well, you and I will discuss it together. So you kind of
get my vote in that way.
You have a weightier vote. So yes.
Okay.
Fair enough. You can vote if you want, but it's just, I'm going to discuss with you.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What the right answer is.
All right. Fair enough. I would love to know what our patrons think, though.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll keep it open for a little while longer and, see where we land.
Okay.
So
sounds good. So there's no official time limit on it. You're not taking it down on a certain date.
No.
Okay.
No.
It's indefinite.
Indefinite.
Okay.
Definitely indefinite.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite kind.
Definitely maybe. All right. The next thing I wanted to mention, this is just kind of a little fun thing. So Greta, have you ever tried to explain Lord of the Rings to someone who's completely clueless about it?
That's a good question. I don't think so.
It's not it's not easy.
Well, I know. I was going to say, I feel like almost everybody at least knows what it is.
Yeah, you might be surprised.
Heard of it.
Well,
okay.
I think a lot of people have heard of it, but they don't. Not everybody necessarily like.
Like you're talking about like the plot and.
Yeah, and I think some people just like their head starts spinning if you try to explain like what hobbits are and what elves are and why this ring is important, and and these sorts of things. Anyway, the reason I asked this is lately, as you know, Greta, one of my favorite TV shows, actually my favorite comedy show of all time, is The Office. And so I've been rewatching it for like the third or fourth time now. But the reason I've been rewatching it this time is because there's this new podcast by two of the actresses who were on the show, Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey, I think, are their two names. Jenna Fisher played Pam on The Office, and then Angela Kinsey played Angela, Angela with a different last name. And so it's a really fun podcast. Like they just go through and kind of talk. They go through each episode and talk about their memories of the show, and like they have guests, like the different people that were on the show with them, and the different people who were in production and writers and all that kind of stuff. So I've really been enjoying listening to this podcast. But it was great because on one of the episodes there was like this 2.5 minute little tangent they went on where they started talking about Lord of the Rings because Jenna, the actress that played Pam, completely does not understand Lord of the Rings, and Angela's kind of trying to explain it to her, but it's clear that Angela is not necessarily like, Angela likes Lord of the Rings, but she's not necessarily like the most up to speed on all of it. Like she kind of gets stumped a little bit a couple of times trying to explain it to Jenna.
Okay.
But let's listen. I just found this really funny, so we're gonna listen to this.
Oh, good. Okay.
It's gonna be. I think y'all will get a kick out of it, especially if you're familiar with The Office. So here goes nothing. Hopefully this will work as planned.
I'm gonna clock it. I caught it.
You hear that?
That was always so fun when they would notice our little choices.
Yeah.
Aw, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, then we go to Jim and Dwight's desks, Angela, and Dwight is talking all about he's going to go to New Zealand. I don't know. He tells Jim he should go to New Zealand and walk the Lord of the Rings trail. Okay, I did not understand any of that. Did you understand that?
Of course I did. So Jim,
you knew what all that stuff meant?
I knew what all of it meant, Jenna. But Jim is like, Dwight, if you could go anywhere? And Dwight was like, I can go anywhere, and I will.
Yeah.
But one of the places he would like to go is New Zealand because he wants to walk the Lord of the Rings trail to Mordor.
Uh-huh. I don't know what that is.
Mordor.
Is that a place?
Mordor.
Mordor is a castle?
It's a place.
Is it a castle or is it like something hidden under a rock in the ground?
It's a place.
Is it a village?
Mordor is where Sauron is.
Yeah.
So what is Sauron?
Sauron. The
Sauron?
Eye of Sauron.
Is that a thing or a person?
I don't know how to describe it. It's pure evil.
How can you not describe it?
How do you describe the Eye of Sauron? It's like a
Why
like
would you want
evil spirit?
But it's not a person.
Sam, how do I explain Eye of Sauron?
I think it was a
person, and he's gaining his power back. And then
if he gets the ring, then he can be a person.
Right about this time that I'm pulling my hair out.
He will rain pure hell all over the land. So
see, your difficulty in explaining it to me is why I don't like to watch it.
Well, I'm not,
because it's like
I'm
not convoluted.
I'm not as versed in Lord of the Rings.
Okay, all right.
But I do know that the Trail to Mordor. And
why would you want to go there? Why are people trying to go to Mordor or not trying to go to Mordor?
You don't want to go there.
Why? So why does Dwight
there's
want
like
to go
lava fields and all this kind of craziness. And then hike Mount Doom. I think Dwight is like a huge Lord of the Rings fan. He basically wants to be one of the Lord of the Rings. He wants to be on this journey and adventure.
Let me ask you this.
But it's filmed in New Zealand and it's gorgeous, so I would love to go.
Are they the Lords of the Rings because it's their job to keep the rings from the Eye of Sauron?
Oh, good God.
Or because they want to get the ring to him so he turns into a regular person again?
No. First of all, are you trying to say it wrong?
Swarzen.
This is like Carl all over again. Okay, moving on.
All right.
Wow.
I just when she throws out, are they the Lords of the Rings because they're trying to get the ring to Swarzen?
So he'll become a real person?
Oh man.
Wow, that's fantastic.
I just got such a kick out of that because Jenna is trying so hard to understand Lord of the Rings, and
well, to her credit, Angela doesn't do a great job. I don't know that I could have done much better, to be completely honest.
Well, and Angela doesn't do a podcast on Tolkien, so I'm gonna cut her some slack there. But but it's just, I don't know. I just got such a kick out of that because two of my little worlds there were crossing over momentarily,
Nice.
and it was in a really funny way because they're completely butchering it, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. They are.
So
Yeah.
anyway, it's a great podcast. You guys should go check it out, especially if you're fans of The Office, Office Ladies. That was not like a paid promotion or anything like that, by the way. I've been enjoying the podcast and thought that was funny and thought you guys would get a kick out of it. So
Yeah. I got a kick out of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and last thing before we jump into our topic, and again, not really news, but we rewatched Lord of the Rings, but with our family, with our kids over
All
Christmas
of
break.
them. The extended editions.
The extended editions, 12 hours of Lord of the Rings viewing over multiple days. It was awesome. I loved it.
It was
I
great.
think it might become a family tradition,
A Christmas
annual family tradition
I think it
around
might.
Christmas time for us.
Yep.
And I was just thrilled that at least two of our three kids really loved it.
Yeah.
Like the two older ones. The oldest, our daughter, she's the one that I've been like really struggling to like, oh, you have to love Lord of the Rings before you are out from under my roof, and so finally I think she fell in love with it, after watching it this time. It was pretty clear,
Yeah, I think she really did enjoy it.
I think she really wants to read the books now, and so that's great.
Yeah.
That was great. And then older boy loved it and wants to read the books. The younger boy, the one we described as being the telling the story about the elves in baseball.
Yes.
I don't think he's just, I don't know, he's not into that kind of, like, he's not into the like fantasy sci-fi kind of stuff as much as the other two are.
He's not really.
So.
And just movies in general don't sorry.
That's right.
Movies in general just don't, they're almost like too long or something. Like he does fine with like, series, but a long movie, I think it's just hard to hold his attention. I
can appreciate that. I mean, I'm not very interested in most movies anymore. I used to watch a lot of movies, but ever since I feel like the quality of TV has improved so much, and that's why I'm very glad that they're doing this new Lord of the Rings series in a TV format, because I feel like it lends itself better to actually taking books and adapting them to film form. I think I've said before that I think short stories are better suited for like a film, right? For a 2-hour film, right? But the Lord of the Rings movies, they are just so well done. I mean, for all the like things you can nitpick about, there's just not much. I mean, if you just spend all your time nitpicking, then you're missing out on something that's really very enjoyable, in my opinion. Yeah. So in the extended editions, even more so, I think there was a lot of good stuff in there.
Agreed.
And the Ride of the Rohirrim, man, it just gets me every time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just like tearing up, want to be there, want to be rushing into battle, ride to ruin and the world's ending, all about it. So it's just, it's so good. And that was what our daughter said, I think was her favorite scene too.
Yeah. She really
I think we may have all been tearing up a little bit, in that, because you're just, everything, when it hits that, when the violin or the fiddle, whatever you want to call it, hits that high note, right as they're about to charge, you're just like, everything is just like all of your emotions are coming up all at once, and it's just like coming out of your eyes, so
yeah,
so good.
It is. It's so good. And Theoden riding down the ranks and clicking swords with everybody and giving his speech. Like, I mean, I wanted to be with them.
Yep.
I was like, I want to go into battle with you, please.
So does
even though I can't ride a horse.
I know, right? Even though I'm scared of horses.
Yes.
Yeah. So anybody else got that tradition? I think that'd be a cool tradition if we as Tolkien fans just made that like a annual thing around Christmas time, right? I know there's a lot of other people have a lot of other traditions, but I don't know. It felt right to me, even though it has really nothing to do directly with Christmas. It just felt right to me.
Yeah. I agree. And I think that's just maybe because there's just so much, even more so this year, there was just so much time at home, and you have the extra, there's just that extra time as together as a family, and it's just, just being inside and being cozy in the cold months. Yeah, I agree. I think it does fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good tradition.
Cool.
Yeah.
Glad we agree.
Yeah, we do.
Well, we'll plan on keeping it up.
We're gonna do it.
Hope you guys let us know. You guys, we'll remind you all, next year a little ahead of time and see if we can get some other people on board with doing that. So
That would be really fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we want to do our quote for the week, right? Our quote from Tolkien. So we're going to do one from Lord of the Rings, and on the subject of the Ride of the Rohirrim. I thought I'd read that scene from the book, right?
Okay.
And it differs, a good bit from how it's done in the movie, but I understand why they did it the way they did it in the movie, and I think it works there very well. But here we go. After a while, the king led his men away somewhat eastward to come between the fires of the siege and the outer fields. Still they were unchallenged, and still Theoden gave no signal. At last he halted once again. The city was now nearer. A smell of burning was in the air, and a very shadow of death. The horses were uneasy, but the king sat upon Snowmane, motionless, gazing upon the agony of Minas Tirith, as if stricken suddenly by anguish or by dread. He seemed to shrink down, cowed by age. Merry himself felt as if a great weight of horror and doubt had settled on him. His heart beat slowly. Time seemed poised in uncertainty. They were too late. Too late was worse than never. Perhaps Theoden would quail, bow his old head, turn, slink away to hide in the hills. Then suddenly Merry felt it at last, beyond doubt. A change. Wind was in his face. Light was glimmering. Far, far away in the south, the clouds could be dimly seen as remote gray shapes, rolling up, drifting. Morning lay beyond them. But at the same moment there was a flash, as if lightning had sprung from the earth beneath the city. For a searing second it stood dazzling, far off and black and white, its topmost tower like a glittering needle, and then, as the darkness closed again, there came rolling over the fields a great boom. At the sound, the bent shape of the king sprang suddenly erect. Tall and proud he seemed again, and rising in his stirrups he cried in a loud voice, more clear than any there had ever heard a mortal man achieve before. Arise, arise, riders of Theoden! Fell deeds awake, fire and slaughter. Spear shall be shaken, shield be splintered. A sword day, a red day, ere the sun rises. Ride now, ride now, ride to Gondor. With that he seized a great horn from Guthlaf, his banner-bearer, and he blew such a blast upon it that it burst asunder. And straightway all the horns in the host were lifted up in music. And the blowing of the horns of Rohan in that hour was like a storm upon the plain and a thunder in the mountains. Ride now, ride to Gondor. Suddenly the king cried to Snowmane, and the horse sprang away. Behind him his banner blew in the wind, white horse upon a field of green, but he outpaced it. After him thundered the knights of his house, but he was ever before them. Eomer rode there, the white horsetail on his helm floating in his speed, and the front of the first Eored roared like a breaker foaming to the shore, but Theoden could not be overtaken. Fey he seemed, or the battle fury of his fathers ran like new fire in his veins, and he was borne up on Snowmane like a god of old, even as Orome the Great in the battle of the Valar when the world was young. His golden shield was uncovered, and lo, it shone like an image of the sun, and the grass flamed into green about the white feet of his steed. For morning came, morning and a wind from the sea, and darkness was removed, and the hosts of Mordor wailed, and terror took them, and they fled and died, and the hoofs of wrath rode over them. And then all the host of Rohan burst into song, and they sang as they slew, for the joy of battle was on them, and the sound of their singing that was fair and terrible came even to the city. Boom.
Good stuff.
I don't really think we can improve on that by
No,
editorializing.
I don't think
so
we can. I'm just gonna let it sit,
it's gonna
marinate.
let you all enjoy that. So maybe go back and refresh if you want to hear it all over again. Refresh the last couple of minutes. So, all right, let's talk about Tolkien and Middle-earth in 2021.
Yeah. Let's do that.
It feels good to say 2021.
2021. What do you think about me? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It does. It does. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, so 2021 is shaping up to be a very exciting year for Tolkien fans, in my opinion. And the two big things that I'll be talking about are the show, our Latron Prime show that, will it be coming this year? I think there's a good chance. Feels like a good chance. And then the new Tolkien book that's coming along. So, and then we'll talk about our plans for the podcast.
Okay.
So-
Ooh, sounds good.
All right. So, will we see the first fruits of Latron Prime in 2021? So the biggest thing coming up is no doubt Latron Prime. We've been waiting on it for, several years now. I think the first news of it in like, was it 2017 or 2018, something like that? It's been a while, and we haven't had a lot of news. We've been told that it's going to be about Numenor.
Yep.
It's going to take place in the Second Age,
Mm-hmm.
and then we've been told some of the actors, and that's about it, right? We know it's been filming, right? We know that some episodes, some portion of the first season, if not all of it, has been filming, and so the latest news that I have heard on this subject is that J.A. Bayona, who is the executive producer of the show, has left New Zealand, and it sounds like that would indicate that the show is a wrap, right? The first season is a wrap. So I know it's already been greenlit too for following seasons, so it's we're going to get multiple seasons of it for sure. But this is a hat tip to theonering.net. But they've got an article that links to J.A. Bayona's Instagram account, and it shows him with hobbity-looking feet,
They
dirty
do
feet.
look very hobbity.
And it says, "This is my last photo in New Zealand. I have no words to thank this extraordinary land and its beautiful people for taking me in this last year and a half. My heart feels a little Kiwi now, and I can't wait to be back." So he's planning on coming back, so that's good news.
Okay.
So, there's not much to go off from that except just to say that it looks like this first season has wrapped. And so should we expect to see Latron Prime premiering in 2021? I feel like, why not?
It's wrapped. Yeah.
Yeah, like at least a pilot or, the first 2 episodes or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just, I think we're all ready. And I think at the very least, we're going to start seeing the first fruits, right? We're going to start seeing teasers. We're going to start seeing maybe some trailers for it. The hype machine is going to really have to get rolling, because so far, for as much money as they invested into this thing, there has not been much of a hype machine going, right?
It's true.
But let's
they've
face
been
it,
very tight-lipped.
with what they've invested in it, and just the brand of Lord of the Rings, right? This thing has the potential to be absolutely huge as a franchise, right? So I just have a feeling that we're going to, if we don't see the show itself premiere this year, I think it's going to be early in 2022. And I think we're going to see a lot of the hype machine moving this year. So
Exciting.
I am very excited. And, we did that episode several weeks ago where we talked about some of our concerns. We had the excellent Clifford Broadway of theonering.net on the show. And he was great. He kind of explained to us, the history of Tolkien fandom when it comes to Hollywood, and talking about what he knows about the show, which I think he's got a little bit of, he's definitely got more insider information than we do. He's got some connections to find out different things about. But, overall, I think we're just excited to see what this turns into. We're all hopeful that it's going to be really well done, that it's going to be true to Tolkien's vision.
Yes.
That it will, it will just be worthy of the Lord of the Rings brand. It'll be worthy of the Tolkien name. I was just thinking to myself today, I just hope that the writers and the producers all are kind of one mind to say, we want to make something that is what Tolkien himself would have made.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not, obviously he wasn't a filmmaker, but he was a writer. And, if, you kind of just imagine who Tolkien was, would this be the thing that he wanted, that he would be proud of? Right. And that's a high bar to set, but that's the truth about it, right? There's just nothing like Lord of the Rings. I posted to our Twitter account this week, just quick reminder for everybody, as 2020 ends, Lord of the Rings is the greatest novel ever written, and there's not a close second, right? So they are undertaking something incredible here, and I'm hopeful that it'll all turn out well. So.
As am I. Yeah.
Yeah. So one other thing that I was thinking about this, I know Amazon and Netflix and all these different streaming platforms now tend to release shows all at once, like a new season all at once. For example, we just binge watched all of Cobra Kai season 3 with our kids yesterday, and it was great. Loved it. I loved doing that. I was a fan of that, but I really do a part of me hopes that they maybe do with Amazon, they do this in a weekly installment, right? Because I feel like there's something, at least for the first season, there's something about like making it like event viewing. You know, it's like people like all watching at the same time because, you know, just as it comes out, right, and then being able to react to it at the same time, right? Like
Yes.
the big fans, right? I think that would be fun if they do that. I don't know that they will.
Release it all at once, you mean?
Rather than releasing it all at once, right?
Okay. You're
I-
saying don't do that.
Yeah,
You'd rather that they not.
I'm fine that they did that. I do that. They do that with other things, but
Mm-hmm.
I kind of hope that they give us time to just digest it, each episode better, right? And kind of
Not be
react to it
tempted
as a
to-
fan community
Yeah.
instead of giving us like 10 episodes all at once and
Yeah.
having to digest all of them all at once, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be a lot.
Yeah.
And
So-
we we wouldn't be able to control ourselves. Like we would not stop. with
Right.
Just one. Like it's like Pringles, you know.
Right.
Like once you watch one, you're just gonna have to watch the other one. It's there, and you want to know what happens.
Yeah, that's how it was with Cobra Kai.
Cobra
yesterday.
Kai, I
I don't
know,
think you and I did not sit down and say to ourselves like we're going to watch
Yeah, we're just gonna watch
all
the whole
10
season.
episodes.
Yeah.
5 to 6 hours of viewing today, but we ended up doing that
Yeah,
because
we
we just
did.
couldn't stop. Yeah, because it's really well done. You know, shout out to the Cobra Kai. It's a really good show.
They're really good.
Anyway,
And it was a perfect way to spend New Year's Day too.
It really
What
was.
else are you gonna do?
it really was.
Hopefully season 4 will come out New Year's
the
Day
college
next
football
year.
games weren't very good, so
Oh, right. That's true.
so
Yeah. Well, hopefully that'll be. Maybe we can make that a New Year's Day tradition. They just have to keep churning out new Cobra Kai seasons for us.
I could live with that.
I would be totally down with that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, we'll see what 2021 holds for Latron Prime. That's obviously the number one, I think, thing on all of our minds is how is that show going to turn out, and are we going to see the first fruits of Lord of the Rings
Mm-hmm.
Second Age this year?
Yeah. I mean, I'm hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Me too.
That would be awesome.
So the next thing, of course, is The Nature of Middle-earth, the new book that's coming, the new Tolkien book that's coming. So, so we've talked about this before the announcement was made a few months back, and I honestly may be even more excited about this than I am about Latron Prime,
Whoa.
because it's new writings. It's new writings from Tolkien, right? New in the sense that they're writings that none of us have ever seen before.
Wow.
And some of the things that they're talking about, I mean, I could live with 20 volumes of something called The Nature of Middle-earth, of just Tolkien writing about different questions, different like kind of metaphysical or even like physical scientific questions relating to the nature of Middle-earth, right? And the way things work in Middle-earth. I mean, that would be a dream come true. So maybe they do. Maybe there's more writings that are still to come, and they're going to see how this one sells. I know I'll be buying it as soon as it comes out, and I'm hopeful that it contains some really interesting stuff that'll be good fodder for
for us to talk
podcast
about 'em.
discussion.
Yeah. When is that coming out? Is there a release date?
It's a little bit fuzzy, actually. I found some different word on that. So I'm looking at the Tolkien Society article from November 20th, and they say it's going to be published on the 24th of June this year. But I've seen some other places say maybe May. So
okay.
yeah, I'm not entirely certain what to expect there. So we'll just have to. I'm sure it'll become clear what the release date is as we get another month or two into 2021 here.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
But I'm very excited about that and look forward to discussing the different things in that book.
Mm-hmm.
So-
So it's one book. It's not a series.
Just one book,
Okay.
as far as I know. Now, again, could it turn into a series? Maybe, right?
I guess there
I
would
would
be
be
that
down with that.
possibility. Yeah.
I would not say no to that. So,
Okay.
yeah. All right, well, let's talk about our plans for this podcast. So those are really the two big things, and I think those are two pretty huge things, right? A new Tolkien book and a TV series based on, like, a period of Middle-earth that we don't really know much about, right?
That's a lot of good.
That's a lot of good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So keeps you plenty busy with Tolkiendom in 2021. And as far as the podcast goes, I mentioned the poll earlier, tolkienroad.com/POLL21, poll 21. You can go over and vote on what we're going to be talking about this year. There's definitely some works we haven't read before. Major works like The Children of Húrin, Beren and Luthien, The Fall of Gondolin, the entire History of Middle-earth series. We're still wrapping up some of this stuff in Unfinished Tales, which we kind of do in not as one chunk, but in piecemeal fashion. And then there's all kinds of minor works and those sorts of things. I also I really enjoyed that episode we did on the white trees of Gondor. I liked doing the deep dive into just one specific aspect of the lore and just tracing, the history of that particular topic all throughout the history of Middle-earth. And I think I want to do more of that, like character biography, character stories, right? Not necessarily
Like
character biographies, but like backstories or just like kind of piecing together all of the different information about a particular character into one place.
That would be cool.
History of particular areas, right? It never ceases to amaze me, right? When I feel like, well, how many times have I read Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion? It's kind of like, I kind of understand, but it never fails. Like just reading that little passage from Ride of the Rohirrim from Lord of the Rings, Book 5, Chapter 5, I was just like, I'd forgotten completely about like Guthlof, right? The horn bearer, right? For Theoden, and just all of these details that are in there. But Tolkien seems to have developed backstories for so many of these things.
Yeah.
And even and the major characters too. I mean, there's so many major characters that so much more could be said about. So I just feel like there's no shortage of topics to discuss.
Yeah, for sure.
I also really like the idea of doing a reread.
Yeah, we were talking about this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, of Lord of the Rings or the Silmarillion, because we did them a while ago, right? And they just keep on giving. They're the works that keep on giving, and I feel like we know more now, especially about like the Second Age. We know more now, and I feel like when I the first few times I read Lord of the Rings before I read the Silmarillion, I would have had no idea who Orome of the Valar was, right?
Right.
But
nor would I. Yeah.
Right. But having read the Silmarillion, you now can appreciate a little reference like that.
Did we do Lord of the Rings before we did the Silmarillion?
No, we did the Silmarillion first.
That's what I thought.
Well, we did the Silmarillion. We did like the first 10 chapters, and then we switched to Lord of the Rings for a little while, and we came back to the Silmarillion.
Okay.
Because I must have a little bit of a ADD and shiny
object syndrome.
Yeah. Or I just couldn't wait to get to Lord of the Rings, and so I was just like, all right, I'm gonna move it along.
Yeah, and let's be honest, I think I needed a little bit of a break from the Silmarillion. So okay, I'd forgotten that's what we did.
But we're thinking about some different ways to do a reread. Maybe not doing it as the main portion of the podcast, but doing it in some different format that would allow you all to participate. That's the other thing is like so many of you all have found us after we did those episodes a long time ago. I cringe to even imagine going back and listening to those episodes now because I'm like, we were such podcasting newbies.
Yeah.
And
I mean, not that we have it all figured out now, but we're definitely
we're total pros now. What are you talking about?
Well, I like to think we've improved somewhat.
We have, absolutely. And so that
would be fun to go back.
That's the logic there. And just knowing more and I've gotten better, I think, at organizing the presentation of information as well. So, so yeah, there's so many different directions we could go, but we're looking for you all to help us think about it too. And so that's why we're offering that poll over at tolkienroad.com/POLL21.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
As for the immediate future, we've got, we need to wrap up our short series on Tolkien's life story, right? So we did 2 episodes of that. And we've either got 1 or 2 more episodes to do on that subject.
Okay.
We've also got some more material from Unfinished Tales that we haven't covered. The Hunt for the Ring is one that I think we'll probably do next from Unfinished Tales. There's some other portions as well that we haven't tackled. So we've got a good bit of stuff to cover, just in the interim right now. But the toughest thing about doing this podcast is just making a decision.
Yeah, picking a direction
and committing to it, honestly, at this point. It was easy for the first 200 episodes because it was basically like we got the Silmarillion, we got Lord of the Rings, and we got The Hobbit. And we got to do those 3. We can intersperse some other stuff in here, some 1-off, 2-off episodes in here. But doing, now we've covered those, so do we go back and cover them again, or do we pick some other lesser-known work? So...
Well, you know me, I like to keep it fresh.
Yeah.
So I'm the kind of person that would rather go to a different place for vacation every time. Mm-hmm. And you're the kind that would just rather go back to the same place because we know it and we're comfortable there and all the things. And I'm always like, give me something new. So you know what my position's probably going to be.
Well, yeah, but
not that I'm opposed to a reread.
If you find a really great place that you really enjoy, then why not keep going back there?
Broadening your horizons.
Well, that's why I always try to even when we were doing Lord of the Rings, we would do like special little one-off episodes
Yes.
in this direction. We'd have somebody on for an
and
interview.
that was good. That was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's really beautiful how limitless, how expansive Tolkien's works are, but it does present a bit of a conundrum for us to kind of figure out what we want to do and what we want to talk about.
Yeah.
You know? So, but it's a good problem to have, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. That's where we're at for 2021. That's where our minds are at. Anything else you want to say about 2021, Greta, as far as Tolkien goes?
2021. Oh, gosh, every time you say 2021,
You want to sing the Vampire
I want
Weekend
to sing the
song?
Vampire Weekend song.
Is that the one where he goes, boy,
Yes.
boy?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's it. No, I mean, I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for a new year and just to see where the podcast goes. You know, it's always a bit of a fresh start and a new leaf and all those cliche things. But yeah, I mean, the future is wide open. So it's going to be exciting to see what we end up doing and see. I would love it if we could involve our listeners more. Like if we could, I know you mentioned maybe some live streams or things like that. I think I'd really like that. Like being able to interact with our audience more. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, we might do some experimental stuff on that front. You know, I think we're going to be doing some experimenting this year. You know, just trying to play with the. I think we're going to stick to doing the podcast, the weekly podcast thing, in kind of the way we've been doing it. But I think we're also going to try some experiments here and there just to see if we can, reach people in different places too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that sounds like a good plan.
And you all are all along for the ride. So
yes,
invite her along.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's move on to correspondence time. So we're gonna keep this pretty short this week. A lot of you all have written on Project Northmore, and we will be getting to that very soon. Hopefully next week. I'm not going to make any promises because I've learned not to make promises about when we're going to tackle particular things. But we are going to get to that feedback sooner rather than later. We got quite a bit of it, and I wanted to tackle it on an episode. But on this week's episode, I wanted to read a great note we got from our patron and listener, Tom M. So let me pull this one up here. All right. So Tom says, Dear John and Greta, I hope you're enjoying a wonderful Christmas. He wrote this on Christmas Day. It has been a good quiet day of family fellowship in our house. I recall the episode where you interviewed the gentleman who spoke about his concerns regarding Amazon's upcoming TV series. I share the concerns and potential objections you all voiced then. One thing that struck me about the interview was how your guest spoke about many people finding comfort in various ways from Tolkien's works. I believe he even mentioned people with special needs. He did. Yeah, I'll say that and interjecting here. So this is Clifford Broadway that Tom is referring to. And Clifford was a joy to have on the show and offered a lot of great insight.
Yeah, he did.
And he did. He mentioned people he mentioned the specific case of people finding comfort, people with special needs finding comfort, right, in Tolkien's works, which I remember being really moved by, the idea of that at the time. So continuing on with Tom's letter, I wish I could remember exactly what he said then. Our fifth and youngest child has Down syndrome. At 15 and a half, he is doing well. There have been many challenges along with many blessings. Even though I most importantly find comfort in Scripture, I have many times found Tolkien's words helpful too, and often in very difficult circumstances. At times, the burdens and disappointments of life can be overwhelming. I can remember one such occasion where I felt without hope, with the expectation that I would not find the fulfillment I wished for. I felt empty and without motivation to continue on in that situation. Yet I knew God would not have me give up. Tolkien's description of Sam came to mind. And quoting from Tolkien here, but even as hope died in Sam, or seemed to die, it was turned to new strength. Sam's plain hobbit face grew stern, almost grim, as the will hardened in him, and he felt through all his limbs a thrill, as if he was turning into some creature of stone and steel that neither despair nor weariness, nor endless barren miles could subdue. I remember having those words come to my mind then. It was quite a struggle, but I resolved to go on. I have more than once likened wrestling with doubts, fears, and unbelief to Gandalf's battle with the Balrog. Ever I hewed him, and ever he clutched me, or the war between the dwarves and orcs that mostly took place in the deep places of the earth. Finally, Gandalf's words to Denethor have been helpful many times also when faced with the possibility that much of what we hope to achieve or enjoy in life might be swept away by future evils in the world. The rule of no realm is mine, neither of Gondor nor any other, great or small. And for my part, I shall not wholly fail of my task, though Gondor should perish, if anything passes through this night that can still grow fair or bear fruit and flower again in days to come. For I also am a steward. Did you not know? I have been careful to write with discretion, but the weight of depression and near despair I have experienced in some of these circumstances was tremendous. At least it felt so in those moments or seasons. I could go on about the ways not only the words, but the beauty of Tolkien's writings have blessed me. I could devote a lengthy letter to Smith of Wootton Major all by itself. That's one we need to cover.
We do.
We've had several people have asked about that. I hope that Tolkien's Middle-earth will not be sullied by Amazon's treatment of it, but even if it suffers from mishandling, the roots have gone too deep to be reached by such a shallow frost, and the true gold will not be corroded. Or even if Amazon wanders, Middle-earth will not be lost.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's all. I got chills.
I know.
Oh, man.
Tom, thank you so much for that letter. It was really beautiful. Thank you for sharing a little bit about your own struggles and how Tolkien has helped you through those things. I think I completely agree. I mean, I've had some very dark times in my own life where Tolkien has just been there, like in my soul, just like a seed planted in my soul that rings out and that won't allow me to give into darkness, to give into despair, and I think that's true for, I really do think that's true for a lot of people.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
And the quote from Sam is, with Sam is just wonderful. And, it reminds me of the kids all loved Sam, of course. Right. You just can't help but love Sam.
No, you can't.
And, he's just, he's the heart, like he's just that heart character. It's like Sean Astin was the perfect one to play Sam because he played Rudy, right? So it's like of course he should play Sam. And I don't know, your letter was very moving to me, and
Same.
for a number of reasons, and I'm very thankful that you're along for this ride with us, and correspond with us frequently, and I just I thank you for that letter, and for those for others who are listening too, who may face, we all face our own darknesses, we all face our own difficulties, and I hope that other people find solace and find strength in hearing your testimony there, and will remember those moments, the darker moments, and in Tolkien's writings where it's so dark, but there's always the light, right? There's always the light beyond the darkness, right?
And there's always hope.
Yeah.
Hope of that catastrophic turn.
That no matter, and in the end, like nothing can, there's always light beyond the darkness, right? The shadow is a passing thing, right? And it can be so hard to remember that sometimes, but it's like, just remember that one line, right? The shadow is a passing thing, right? It may take a while to pass, but the shadow is a passing thing. And so, never let that darkness be something that overcomes you, right? Never let that give in to despair, right? We're meant to fight those things. We're meant to do battle against those things. I know that's something that our faith teaches us very much, right? I love the line. I thought when you mentioned Gandalf and Denethor, I thought you might mention the one where he kind of he chides Denethor right when Denethor is about to burn himself and Faramir alive. He chides Denethor, and it's like, you're the steward of Gondor. You don't have the right to give in to despair, like the pagan, like the heathen kings of old, is what he says, right? That is totally not. You are not allowed to do that. You should be fighting this, right?
You need to hold yourself to a higher standard.
Right.
Yeah. because there's people depending on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and sometimes sometimes you just need to hear a comforting word, and sometimes you also need somebody to come, Gandalf to come up to you and just be like, smack, smack, smack,
Yes.
get it together, man.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
And because
Yeah.
both can be acts of love. But anyway,
Absolutely.
yeah, it just such a wonderful letter, Tom.
Really wonderful.
I felt like it was worthy of being the one point of correspondence we discussed this week, because it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
So
Really, really.
thank you for writing it.
I found it very moving as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you I can tell you put a lot of thought and, a lot of thought and care into that note. And I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'd love to hear from each and every one of you who are listening. TolkienRoadPodcast@gmail.com. You can go to TolkienRoad.com and use the contact form or leave comments on an episode. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, whatever it is, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a shout out.
Yes, please do.
All right. Good up.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was
All right.
a good start. Good way to kick off the new year.
Absolutely. Well, thank you to all of our listeners and to our patrons, especially the following: Caitlin of Tea with Tolkien,
Lise U,
Andrew T,
Shannon S,
Brian O,
Emilio P,
Zeke F,
James A,
James L,
Chris L,
Chuck F,
Azia V,
Ish of the Hammer,
Teresa C,
David of Pints with Jack,
Jonathan D,
Eric S,
Joey S,
Eric B,
Matt L,
Johanna T,
Ms. Anonymous.
and Sam N. And we're also going to give a shout out, like we mentioned, this new thing. So we're going to be celebrating every month. We're going to celebrate those who have a 1-year anniversary on that particular month. Now, I know you're probably confused by this, Greta, because it's like, well, didn't we just do all the people who were 1-year anniversary
I thought we did.
before? But this is so what we're trying to get in the habit of doing. That was a one-time thing that we did at the beginning of the episode, just because I've all these people have been giving for such a long time, and I wanted to give them a shout out for doing that. But this is going to be a new thing where we get in the habit of doing that on a regular basis and just saying, hey, these people have been patrons for over a year, for a year or more, and this is the anniversary. This is their Patreon anniversary, if you will. So,
Cool.
So the people
Got it.
and actually most of these apply to December because we didn't do this in December, but we started our Patreon in December, so of many moons ago. So, so most of these people are actually Patreon anniversary in December. We're going to count them as January because we're starting in January. So,
All right.
those folks are Tyler W,
Shannon S,
Brian O,
Margaret L,
Emilio P,
Zeke F.
and Katie W.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all so much for your continued patronage. All right.
Yes.
Now, with all the thank yous out of the way, the episode is over.
Finally.
Oh, but one more
jeez.
thank you. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, guys.
We'll talk at you next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.